Hey, this is Jonesy from Jonester TV coming at you with a review for Arrow Season 5, Episode 5, entitled Human Target. This episode was actually great, and it's not I thought at first I was thinking of Human Target, the Fox TV show from 2010, and I had no idea that Christopher Chance was actually a character, a DC comic book character, but it is the same character here we see that was seen a couple years ago in the Human Target TV show, Christopher Chance, and basically he helps out Oliver in this episode, and we'll discuss that later. But I want to say this episode was great in a lot of ways. Chad Coleman gave a powerful last performance as Tobias Church. He feels comfortable and great in the role, and he's great in other shows as well. One example being his role in The Walking Dead as Tyrese, and he was great. He's great in The Expanse as well, and I really think that he gave Tobias Church sort of a good last episode, of course, as we figure out he died. But, I mean, it was cool seeing him battle Oliver, and him torturing Renee was actually very brutal. The way he tortured Renee, and it was kind of, it set him up to be a big bad for Oliver to take out, and this whole episode was really difficult to take him out. We also got to see a lot of development with Wild Dog, because we figure out that the reason he was dishonorably discharged from the military was he tortured somebody to get information out of them. And so it sort of all connects, and we get this backstory. It's really cool to see Diggle in this episode actually come back and mentor Wild Dog and sort of give him some advice, because Diggle sort of used to be in the same spot that Wild Dog's in now, that Renee's in now. And I actually like Wild Dog after this episode. I think he's one of the weakest characters until this episode, but I really think the whole Diggle, Renee dynamic will really work out here, and I hope they take Wild Dog as a character to expand past the source material. Of course, there's not much there, but I think he could really develop into being a cool character on the show. We've gotten basically backstories for Rory now, for of course Curtis, and of course now Wild Dog. But we still haven't got one for Evelyn, so I can't wait till we get to figure out more about why Artemis became a vigilante. I'm sure that'll come later this season, but I thought that was pretty cool. The flashbacks were pretty great this week. We got to see more of the Anatoly Oliver dynamic, and we got to see that not everything was going smooth. A lot of people hated Oliver when he joined the Bratva, of course, and we actually figured out that Anatoly hired the human target, Will Travell, to act like he got shot, to save Oliver in the past. So we have that cool flashback connection here. We also got to see some of the politics involving the reporter, and she actually figures out that Oliver's in Russia and wasn't stranded on the island at a certain time, so it'll be cool to see how the flashbacks, fit into everything else. And of course we had that final scene with Prometheus Prometheus just knocked every other Arrow villain since Slade Wilson out of the water. Really, he has a presence on screen. He doesn't have to speak to be creepy. When he does speak, you listen, and really just the way he took out Tobias at the end really set him up to be the big bad this season. I can't wait to see what his plot line involves and how he knows Oliver from the past. But overall, this was a phenomenal episode for many, many reasons. It just gelled well. The characters were well fleshed out. Finally, Wild Dog, we actually had a reason to care about him this episode. The flashbacks were entertaining, and they moved forward in the story. We also got to see Diggle back into the picture, which is great. You don't realize how much you miss Diggle until he goes away. And, of course, the one thing I would say, too, is I've never been an Felicity person, because I thought Felicity and Oliver being together ruined the show. But really, I think in this episode, they handled it in an adult manner, and actually Guggenheim actually handled it well. So I'm not going to say that the rest of the season is going to be this amazing, but I really did like this episode on many levels. It really connected with me. One of the best episodes of Arrow in the last 3 years. So I'd have to give this episode a 9.2 out of 10.